fired for being fat. Plus some more work drama. Let's start with some backstory. Set the scene! I am a woman in my mid-30s, and I'm very overweight. Not to the point of handicap, but I'm a big gal. I work at a company with around 25 employees, and I've been here for 8 years. Recently, the business was sold to a larger corporation who sent their own people in for management roles after laying off our entire management team, consisting of 4 people. I work with clients in the field and have a good work record, and my clients like me and have built relationships with them. Turn to today. I get called into the office of one of the new managers who tells me my appearance isn't a good fit for a client-facing role. And I can either take a pay cut and work in the call center, or take unpaid leave and come back after I've lost a considerable amount of weight. That sounds like a lawsuit. I ain't a lawyer, but that sounds like a lawsuit. I was floored. I've never had a client have an issue with my weight, at least outwardly, and I'm good at my job. I fail to understand how your weight affects any sort of client relationship, unless they're worried about being attracted to you. And that's some tea for another day. I meet all productivity goals, and I've never even received a write-up in my 8 years. I pushed and I asked him if there had been any complaints, to which he said no, but they want to head off any future issues which may arise. Yeah, this sounds like discrimination. I said straight up, so you're punishing me because I'm fat? Are you also demoting obese male coworker in the same role as me? He said no. And didn't answer when I asked why the situation was different. I left fuming and told him I was going home for the rest of the day to think about things. Bestie, I'm kind of wondering if you have this in writing. Can this really be legal? No. What recourse do I have? Well, it would really help if you had this in writing. If you don't have it in writing, I would follow up with a note in email format stating all of the things that were discussed in this one-on-one meeting. Hopefully it was one-on-one. And get the writing that way. Get him to admit it in writing. Just keep a record of it. Because this is discrimination. And you can for sure contact a lawyer over this.
This is Judge Judy.
They're gonna ask you to do the same things. They're gonna ask you, is anything in writing, etc., keep records of everything, all the discussions, conversations, keep records. Update, I spoke with the law office my sister recommended this morning, and I've been asked to no longer post online about the situation. Right, because it could come back to hurt you. But we do have an update. The Monday following the incident, I was asked to come speak with a VP of HR I'd never met and only knew by name because they worked directly for the company that bought ours out. When I walked in the conference room, there were 4 people waiting for me, 2 of which was told I was part of legal. What I didn't realize is my friend, who I mentioned in the comments of the other post, ended up saying something to another coworker because he was so horrified about the situation, even though I told him to keep it a secret. This information ended up making its way up the chain and was not taken well. I mean, which part? The part where you talked about it with someone else, or the part where you're being fired for being overweight? I was asked to explain exactly what happened, who I told, and asked a lot of questions. Okay, so they're more concerned about who you told. Everything I said seemed to make them uncomfortable. Right, because it's a lawsuit waiting to happen, especially when I told them I was in touch with a lawyer. They had me leave the room for nearly 40 minutes, and then they called me back in and let me know they were very concerned about this situation and assured me it was an isolated power trip, basically. This is the holy crap part. They say that due to my long tenure in my position, knowledge of how the team works, and my relationship with clients, that they felt I would be a good fit for the position the jerk manager sat in. Oh, this is a nice turn of events. And if I wanted it, the position was mine, as their way of saying sorry. I mean, it'll do. They also made sure to mention the large salary increase and bonuses this would come with. I took a couple of minutes to think about it and took the job offer. Yay! By the way, I'm not stupid. I know they did this so I wouldn't take any legal action against them. That's exactly why they did it. But I love my job and I don't blame them for the actions of a 20-something on a power trip. I also know it came down to he said, she said, and would have been a hard case to prove. There's going to be company-wide training on gender and interpersonal relations, and I finally have an office with a door I can actually close. Ooh, goody. I'm in the field a lot less now, so I guess the jerk got what he wanted because now I don't interact face-to-face nearly as much as I used to. I think it's rather interesting that you, a woman, have different rules put on you than a male in a similar position who's also overweight. I have friends in sales who have like clients and stuff like that. I hate saying this, but I think a rather large factor is going out with clients, entertaining them, etc. People tend to cross the line, like obviously old way of thinking that they want good-looking people. I say this in quotations, okay, for those only listening, to be the face of the company. I experienced this when I worked at a certain clothing store. I had like a little bit of an alternative style and it wasn't representative of what the company liked. So they had me work in the back, steaming clothes. It was Witchy Wednesday, okay? I wore black lipstick. I actually didn't mind because I don't like talking to customers. So some important info in the comments. FYI, if you find yourself in a situation where your boss crosses a line like this, the best response is to immediately follow up the conversation with an email. See? Get it in your noggin. Get it in your dome. That captures what they said as close to word for word as you can remember. Frame it as you're trying to clarify their instructions and finish by asking them to reply if they disagree with any aspect of your recollection. Ooh, that's good. Short of denying the conversation ever happened, there isn't really any way they can respond without incriminating themselves. No matter what happens, you'll have a paper trail that will help with whatever you decide to do. And in this particular instance, it's like, even if he denied what happened, okay, so then what is the reason for like demoting me and like removing me from like front of house, as it were, if you have literally a spotless record? You're kind of backing him into a corner, but you do need that shit in writing, just saying. Okay, that had a very satisfying ending, I have to say. But we're not done yet. We got some more work drama that's spicy AF. Am I the a-hole for disinviting a coworker for perpetually spoiling things? All rise! Almost every Friday, my coworkers and I will go out and get drinks and socialize. More often than not, it's on an open invitation for the entire office, and even people outside of our team will join. We typically have a great time, but only when Logan, 20s male, doesn't show. Logan is a party pooper. Logan means well, but is easily excitable and engages people in conversation they're not interested in. The worst of this behavior has to do with spoiling movies, shows, games, etc. Okay. A few weeks ago, I mentioned I had tickets to see the new Mortal Kombat movie over the weekend. Logan lit up and immediately responded, "You'll love the scene where," spoiler, "happens and when," spoiler, "shows up." I was bummed and walked away without continuing the conversation. Later that same night, Amy, another coworker, was discussing a TV show she was a few episodes behind in. Logan blurts out, "I can't believe that beloved character dies in episode whatever number." Oh, absolutely not.
Shut up.
I feel like this is also kind of like the downfall of social media as well, because like if you're not totally up to date with things, you see spoilers all over the place, especially with like Love Island. Like I know that like not everybody watches it, but like I'm obsessed. I had to avoid TikTok for like a whole week while I caught up. It's annoying, but like, is it uninviting fuel? I don't know. We'll find out. Amy, who had obviously not watched it yet, went silent and turned away. Logan laughed and said, "I just can't help it. I get too excited." None of us were amused. Okay, so like we need to tell Logan not spoil certain things before we uninvite people. A few days later, in our team-only group chat, someone brought up Logan's tendency to spoil things and admitted they wished he weren't invited to outings because of it. Multiple people agreed and began to list everything Logan had spoiled for them. With this in mind, I didn't add Logan to the email invite for next week's hangout. He noticed he never got an invite and began to ask around, as I was the one who'd written the email. He was eventually directed to me. I mean, listen, I know what he's doing is annoying and like sucks, but let's tell him why we don't like what we don't like, let's communicate our feelings before we exclude people, okay? He pulled me aside as I left for lunch and let me know I excluded him by mistake. Rather than try and play it off, I told him the truth. The fact that he spoils everything is obnoxious and rude. I told him joining conversations just to spoil things is bad enough, but he also starts conversations with spoilers. Logan was immediately defensive, claiming it's not his fault, we're slow to watch/play, etc. Okay. And that he's just making conversation. I told him if he swore he'd be more conscious about this habit that he could join us that Friday. He came, and lo and behold, he spoiled the plot of a movie I wanted to see in theaters. Yeah, I feel like at this point, we should always be communicating things that we don't like to other people. It's impossible for them to guess. At the end of the day, it's like not really that big of a deal, honestly. Like, it's annoying, don't get me wrong, and I hate that kind of thing. We need to communicate these things.
Communicate.
Then, once we communicate our boundaries, and if people don't respect those boundaries, then we can choose to include those people going forward. Out of frustration, I called him a dick and told him this is exactly why no one socializes with him. He left soon after, and even though I said what everyone was thinking, I felt like an a-hole. Am I the a-hole? It's annoying. It's not as serious as someone being like a bad person. I'm on the fence about this one. I do feel like it was a bit of a dick move. Like, just a little bit of a dick move. But what he did was also a dick move. So is it warranted? Maybe. I feel like people can be driven to be a-holes in certain situations as a response to someone being an a-hole to them, which means that sometimes it's warranted. Not the a-hole that is infuriating and he deserves to be called out. If the group of people don't want him there, don't invite him. I would recommend planning these outings on your own time, such as at home or during your lunch, and writing from your personal email to everyone's personal emails. This is to cover your butt if he goes to HR for bullying or exclusion. The job can't comment anything done in your time and with your property. Not the a-hole, he absolutely can control his behavior. He chooses not to. He is deriving pleasure from spoiling things for everyone else. And this is kind of like what I thought. It's like he clearly is a bit of an aficionado and he likes knowing things before other people. It could be like a bit of a thing where it's like, I'm nerdier than you. Like, whatever it is behind it. Who knows what it is? Maybe he just wants to be liked. He wants to be the person that knows everything. I highly doubt he's doing it to be a dick in the first place. Like, it's just hard to tell. He can learn to control himself or he can be excluded. The choices really do seem simple. I'm the type of person to read the spoilers to see if the plot twist is worth it. I am also this person. Okay. Especially if it's like a movie that has like historical significance, I will like look it up on Wikipedia and find out what happens.
I am your father. Say what?
I get excited. Not that I would spoil it for other people, but like, I look up certain things. To me, there's nothing worse than watching a movie just for a bad plot twist. However, I fully understand the majority of people aren't like me, so I'll keep them to myself. Exactly. I'll look it up to learn those things on my own, but I won't insert myself to spoil it for everyone else. Not the a-hole. I think you're honest and decent to explain it and give him a chance. You did do that. He blew it, but you tried. I have a friend like that. As soon as they kick off, I'd cover my ears yelling, la 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 la, in their face. Took a few times, but they got it. Oh, that's a good way to deal with it. If everyone just starts. This was one-on-one convos. Imagine a whole work group yelling that in your face with their hands on their ears. The insanity. Yeah, that's good. I'm a little on the fence with this one only because I don't like excluding people. As someone who was excluded a lot, and it wasn't because I spoil things. I don't like excluding people. I don't. It just depends on what you're willing to tolerate. I'd be like somewhat okay with it. If there was nothing else this person was doing that was pissing me off, I don't know, I wouldn't really think that it was a big deal. I would find like a humorous way to like deal with it, kind of like this person said with the la 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 in the ears, make a joke out of it. Outwardly excluding someone is like never, ever, ever what I want to do, like ever. That's just me though. Commenter that disagrees, everyone sucks here. Logan sucks for spoiling stuff, sure, but you and your coworkers suck for handling it in an extremely passive-aggressive way. Instead of calling out his behavior, both you and Amy stayed silent and walked away, then gossiped behind his back with the rest of the office to make a secret list. Then you uninvited him from hangouts. Then finally you snapped at him, calling him a dick and telling him nobody likes him. Simply going, why did you say that? I was really looking forward to seeing Mortal Kombat and you ruined the scene for me. I'm bummed. Would have been way more effective getting the point across than all the little secret plotting behind his back. I actually agree with this. Like, I actually do. And like, that might not be the status quo, but I do agree with this person. You can disagree. We can still like each other if we disagree. But let's get to the update. Your responses had me curious, so I tested something out. Last night, our office went out for drinks again and Logan showed up. At one point, when I knew he was listening, I mentioned a movie I really wanted to see. I gave the title and named some actors that were in it and left it at that. Logan didn't say anything immediately, but pulled out his phone a few minutes later. The rest of the night went smoothly until I was about to head home. Logan flagged me down and asked me to repeat the movie title I'd mentioned. I repeated the title I'd given earlier and Logan got upset. He told me that movie didn't exist. He's right, I made it up. He called me annoying and a killjoy and said spoilers shouldn't matter if you're just going to watch something anyway. He told me to get over the fact that he likes sharing major plot points and claimed I ruined his night. And so, as many of you concluded, Logan is a jerk who enjoys spoiling things. Part of me hopes he spent his entire evening searching for a movie that doesn't exist. Part of me feels bad that he feels that's something he needs to do for whatever reason. Pulling a prank on him might make me kind of an a-hole, but to be honest, I think it was worth it. Does this prove that Logan likes to spoil things? It might, because why is OP an a-hole for making up a movie, you know? Because he can't spoil it? Weird hobby he has. I can understand if people were to do it accidentally, annoying, yes, but as long as it's an accident, I understand. However, it seems like he does it deliberately just to bother people or to make it seem like he knows everything. He's a bit of a know-it-all. It's kind of like a one-upper. You know, when you're like sharing some good news that you're excited about and then they like one-up you by just being like, you know, you could say something like, oh yeah, like I'm going to Italy in a couple of weeks. And then they'll say, oh, you're going to Italy. Yeah. Last time I was in Italy, we had a private tour of the Vatican. That kind of thing. And it's behavior that you really dislike that's like mildly annoying and like you don't necessarily like being around that. Is it as deep? I think this is an everyone sucks. Still. He was a dick, don't get me wrong. I still have a little thing about excluding people that makes me say that this is an everyone sucks. That's all. All right, we got one more for you. Am I the a-hole for getting a coworker to quit and then apparently getting myself fired because my manager couldn't handle rejection? Okay, this is a bit of a wild one. I, 23 female, was working at Smoothie King. We had two managers, Justin, 20s male, and Skyla, 20s female. Leading up to my birthday, I was picking up a ton of extra shifts, either ones I was scheduled for or covering for other people. I wanted some extra cash to celebrate, but almost every time I was supposed to work, Skyla would text me right before my shift and tell me not to come in, saying it was slow. A coworker later told me it was actually pretty busy on a few of those days. Okay. One night, this coworker texted our group chat asking if anyone could cover her closing shift. I immediately said I would. A few minutes later, she texted again, asking if someone else could take it.
Huh?
When I asked her why I couldn't, she private messaged me and said Skyla told her to find someone else because she didn't want me to work it, and she was just doing what Skyla said. I was getting really frustrated because this kind of thing kept happening. So I asked my coworker if she knew what Skyla's problem was with me, but she apologized and said she didn't know. After that, I started looking for a new job. Yeah, Skyla don't like you very much. So you would have been working with Skyla, I'm assuming, because she's your manager. Yeah, okay. Not long after, during one of my shifts, Justin pulled me aside and said they were thinking about letting me go. As soon as he said he was going to talk to Skyla about it, I pretty much knew I was done for. Luckily, I landed a new job like 2 days later, so it wasn't a huge deal in the end. Fast forward a few months, and I randomly ran into a former coworker, Jonathan. I honestly thought he was cute when we were working together, and little did I know, so did Skyla. I see what's going on here. He spilled some major tea. Apparently on a day I wasn't working, Skyla asked Jonathan out and he rejected her. Ooh. She was not happy about it. Now here's where it gets relevant to me. Jonathan and I only worked one shift together, but we flirted a lot that day. Guess who else was working? Skyla. She saw everything. Like, isn't that kind of weird that like the manager is like into an employee? Just saying. I thought that was kind of like important to add. After Jonathan's shift ended, she apparently texted him all kinds of angry stuff and he ended up quitting the very next day. I had absolutely no idea about Skyla liking Jonathan or asking him out. But when he told me this whole story, it clicked. Skyla, or Kryla, was clearly salty about being rejected by Jonathan and for some reason took it out on me because he apparently liked me instead of her. So, am I the a-hole for being the reason my manager's crush quit and then seemingly getting myself fired because she couldn't handle rejection and was jealous? It feels pretty ridiculous to me, but maybe I'm missing something. You didn't do anything, and furthermore, I really highly doubt that she's supposed to be asking her subordinates out, like people who work under her, for those that don't know what a subordinate is. She's not supposed to be doing that in the first place. Like, I am fairly certain, like even any office or like workplace fraternizing usually looked down upon. It's even worse if it comes from like authority down. You didn't do anything wrong. I feel like this was more of just like you just kind of wanted to talk a little shit, because like clearly you did nothing wrong here. Not the a-hole. He didn't quit because of you. He quit because his manager harassed him. And that's on period. That's what I'm saying. You're the a-hole for asking an obvious question. Listen, I appreciate the tea, but it is an obvious question with an obvious answer. And no, you are not the a-hole. Subscribe!